Hello there, Lunar Squadron, and welcome back to the channel. Today we have a fun and exciting Jedi Survivor video. If you caught our breakdown a few days ago for the final gameplay trailer, you will know that there was one key detail that our sleep-deprived minds just simply could not crack. We couldn't wrap our heads around it, but now, after spending a few more days with the trailer and just going through it and doing some research, we believe we have cracked the code to this detail, a detail that we believe provides some pretty fun and exciting insight into the story of Jedi Survivor. And in this video, we are going to present all of our evidence to you. But first, if you're new to the channel, we would love to have you as always, and the way to do that is just go down below this video, hit that little subscribe button, the bell notification right on next to it. It will notify you every single time Andreas and I upload the latest and greatest Star Wars and Jedi Survivor content. Now with that all out of the way, Andreas, are you ready to talk about some bounty hunters?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Alright, Andreas, so like I said in the intro, there is one key detail from that new gameplay trailer that just aired on Sunday that we just simply couldn't wrap our heads around it at the time as to what exactly we were looking at. But now, after a few more days with the trailer and talking with some people in our community and getting some suggestions and ideas from them, we think we have finally figured out for sure what we're looking at here. So why don't we start there and let's just tell everyone what we're looking at.
Yeah, for sure. So the scene that we're talking about, guys, is at the 38-second mark of the new and final trailer for Jedi Survivor. We're talking about the scene where Cal is holding up the holographic, and we were kind of speculating who this might be. And you know what? Nick and I were so focused on who is in the hologram that we didn't really start looking at the device itself. And when you look at the device itself that he's holding, Nick, it's pretty plainly clear that he's holding a bounty puck, right?
Yeah, it's something I wish we would have caught in the moment, but if you take a look at the device itself and not the hologram, and you go and compare it to what we know a holo puck or a bounty puck looks like from The Mandalorian and where else we've seen it throughout Star Wars media, and if you just look up a picture of people making them to sell on various online stores, that is exactly what we're looking at. It is almost exactly the same. It's the model that's what we're looking at. It's a holo puck. It is a bounty puck. And now, looking at the hologram itself, Andreas, I know the other day we talked, maybe it was Seer, an old recording of Seer. We really had never worked under the assumption that we were looking at potentially a bounty puck, but now that we know that we're dealing with a bounty puck, we're dealing with some sort of bounty, and looking at this closer, I think we are actually looking at a bounty puck of Cal himself.
Yeah, again, it's a little hard to be 100% certain just from the look of this holographic. It kind of flashes quickly, but I think after rubbing some of the sleep out of our eyes here, Nick and I have looked really close at this image, and just with, like you said, Nick, with the context of this being a bounty puck, I think it makes perfect sense that this is of Cal. I think it does, this silhouette does look a bit like Cal here. And again, we've speculated and kind of thrown around a few ideas for this, but I'm thinking bounty puck of Cal. This opens a whole can of worms now for me, because I'm starting to think, why is there a bounty puck of Cal? How does Cal get his hands on this bounty puck? And who put out a bounty for Cal? Because if you guys know, the whole point of a bounty puck is that it will portray the person that is a quarry, or someone who a bounty has been taken to collect. So it's like a bounty target is displayed in the bounty puck. So, Nick, I kind of want to start off with the first question here. Who might have put out this bounty for Cal, just based on our context of what we know about bounty pucks? Who uses bounty pucks? Let's kind of just have a open conversation about what we think here.
Yeah, it definitely is the most interesting question from this scene, now that we know we're dealing with a bounty puck based off of what we know canonically about bounty pucks. So Up to this point, there's not a lot known about holopucks. There's not a lot that has been established just because they're relatively new to Star Wars. There's not a whole backstory to them. But up to this point, canonically, of course, this could always change. Respawn could be changing its canon nature here in Jedi Survivor. But what we know as of this moment is that these holopucks or bounty pucks are exclusively used by the Bounty Hunters Guild. And during the Imperial era, we know that the Bounty Hunters Guild was loyal to the Empire. We've seen this in Star Wars in the past. In Empire Strikes Back, Darth Vader calls upon members of the Bounty Hunters Guild to help and assist him in finding the Millennium Falcon. And we know from other stories throughout canon that it is for sure the Bounty Hunters Guild was loyal to the Empire. So that kind of begs the question of, was it the Empire that set this bounty on Cal? And it makes a lot of sense for this to be the case. We would assume that up to this point, 5 years after the events of Fallen Order, Cal has made a name for himself. Seer says as much in one of those gameplay trailers where she says, you've really been making a name for yourself over the last few years. Like, I am willing to assume that Cal has been engaging in acts that has put him on the Empire's radar. And not only that, if you remember back to the end of Fallen Order, Cal is one of the Jedi that is able to infiltrate Fortress Inquisitorius. Now, whether or not that is something Vader allowed him to do, because, Vader always works in mysterious ways, that's up for debate. But what we do know is Cal was able to infiltrate Fortress Inquisitorius, battle Vader, and live to tell the tale. So you can't convince me that Cal isn't at some point on Vader's mind or on his radar or in the back of his head thinking about this Jedi named Cal Kestis. So it makes me wonder, if the Empire put this bounty on Cal, would it have been Vader perhaps? Or could this be where that Powan senator, that Imperial senator, comes into play in Jedi Survivor?
Yeah, that is the question, isn't it, Nick? Who do we think it is between the Powan senator and Vader? And just when we look at the general timeline here, this game takes place in 9 BBY, which is right around that same time of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And if we know what Vader's doing during the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, the one priority on Vader's mind at that time is get Kenobi. And so I'm wondering if at certain points in this game it would make perfect sense that Vader is preoccupied with the Kenobi task, that he might have delegated the search for Cal to the Powan senator or perhaps to the Bounty Hunters Guild, because like you articulated, Nick, the Bounty Hunters Guild does have that close relationship with the Empire up until the Empire falls, and then the Bounty Hunters Guild switches its allegiance to the Resistance because the First Order doesn't really mix well with them. So we know at this point in time, the Bounty Hunters Guild is really affiliated closely to the Empire, and if we know anything about Vader, it is that Vader has a vested interest in making sure that every Jedi he comes into contact with is taken care of. We know from the earlier trailer that we've seen at least one Inquisitor that will be featuring in this game, and so we know that the Inquisitors are going to be involved, but now why not throw bounty hunters in the mix? And now all of a sudden this becomes this wild hunt for Cal that is running parallel to another interesting storyline of this game that we've been focusing on, which is the whole High Republic timeline. But now this kind of is a stark reminder to us that there's this Imperial timeline going on that we haven't really focused on because we're so focused on this High Republic stuff. But it's just another reminder of how dynamic this story is and how unexpected some of these twists and turns to the plot are going to be.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think like you said, one thing that we really haven't talked about much as a community is just the Empire's involvement in this story. We've been so focused on this High Republic guy that we just haven't really talked about the Empire. And, if I had to bet on it, I would say this is most likely the doing of the Powan senator. This just seems like a great way to get him involved in the story and get him on Cal's radar, is that he set a bounty on Cal. Now, of course, this is all pure speculation. All we know what we're dealing with here is a bounty puck of what we presume to be Cal based off of the posture and the overall look of that hologram. We can't confirm it for sure, but we're pretty confident we're dealing here with a bounty puck of Cal, we just know that it is a bounty puck, and it just makes a lot of sense given what we know about all of these factions and their involvement with the Empire. But there's a couple other questions I kind of want to go through here about this bounty puck is, what possible bounty hunters could have been sent by the Empire? Because I think there are a lot of fun options here, and I think there are the more safe picks, kind of the boring picks. Now, obviously, the boring pick would just be, not boring, I don't want to say it's boring, but the not as fun pick, the safe pick from Respawn here would be just to utilize the Haxian Brood once again. They are in Fallen Order. They have bounty hunters within their ranks. We see them in Fallen Order, and the Haxian Brood has a presence in Battlescar. So now 2 out of the 3 known commodities from the Jedi franchise, they're 2 for 2 with including the Haxian Brood. So it would make a lot of sense. It's not a big stretch to assume that they would go 3 for 3, and if they needed bounty hunters, just go with an original bounty hunter from the Haxian Brood that Cal has crossed paths with. Now, the more fun option would be to pick some more of those legacy bounty hunters as more of a cameo appearance that are part of that bounty hunters guild. I'm thinking, my main man Bosk, or Dengar, or IG-88, or Boba Fett even. Some of those guys, that would just be a fun callback to the legacy of Star Wars and those legacy bounty hunters. So in my mind, Andreas, I think the most likely option here is if bounty hunters are indeed included in this game and show up going after Cal at some point. I would bet it's most likely Haxian Brood bounty hunters, but it would always be fun to get some of those legacy guys in there.
Yeah, I mean, I personally would love to see a legacy bounty hunter in this game more than anybody, but when I start to really think of the nuts and bolts of how that would work, in this image here, Cal is holding the bounty puck, which implies to me that he must have killed the bounty hunter. Because how else would he get his hands on the puck? Because as we know, the bounty hunter carries the puck. In The Mandalorian, Mando shows his puck to the Mythrol, and it obviously portrayed the Mythrol's face, letting him know, hey, you're in some deep shit. The Bounty Hunter Guild is after you and has posted a bounty for you. So what I'm thinking is, Cal must have nabbed this puck off of whichever bounty hunter is looking for him, and the most likely way that he would have got his hands on the puck is by actually killing the bounty hunter. So if it were a legacy bounty hunter like a Bosk or a Boba Fett or a Forlom, Zuckuss, Dengar, it wouldn't have made sense for him to kill any of those characters because we know that they exist through 9BBY because they make it to Empire and beyond. So I think who knows, Nick, maybe Bosk approaches him and he cuts off Bosk's arm, and as we know, Bosk is a Trandoshan, so he has regenerative limbs. Could it have been something like that? I know it's kind of a stretch, and the more I'm kind of talking through this, the more I'm convincing myself that this is a Haxian Brood type character, or a new bounty hunter, or perhaps even the jetpack individual that we saw on Koboh that was rushing Cal with the flamethrower. Maybe it's that bounty hunter. Not that we have confirmation that is a bounty hunter, but like you noted in our breakdown of that video, Nick, that did look like a bounty hunter. So I'm wondering if it is going to be a more original character this time around. That's kind of what I'm leaning.
Yeah, and Cal doesn't have to kill the bounty hunter in this sequence. He could have just incapacitated him and gotten his hands on the bounty puck that way. So that would open the door for possibly some of those legacy guys to get involved. But I definitely think, if I had to guess, we're dealing with more of a random bounty hunter or a Haxian Brood type, more of those non-legacy that are just gives Respawn the freedom to play with and kind of make their own decisions with that character. If I had to guess, the context of the scene that we're looking at is that Cal is going about his journey and he gets jumped just like he does in Fallen Order by that Haxian Brood bounty hunter. He gets jumped and has to fight this guy off, and he's able to successfully defeat this bounty hunter in some way, whether killing him or incapacitating him, and the guy takes off. And then Cal is able to get his hands on that bounty puck. It falls off of the bounty hunter, or he picks it off of his body or something like that. Because to me, Cal looks both shocked and pretty pissed in this scene. This doesn't look like something he is totally familiar with, if I had to guess, based off the emotions on his face. So if I had to put some context behind this scene, that's what I guess was going on here. But guys, again, a lot of this is just pure speculation. We're just having some fun, you know, taking one detail that we weren't able to pick up in our breakdown that we now have picked up, and we're just taking it and running with it and letting our creative minds, you know, flow with what we know about the backstory and lore of Star Wars. So let us know down below in the comments what you think of this detail. We are happy we were finally able to catch it, and thank you to everybody who mentioned us in the comments and on social media and Twitter and kind of helping guide us along the way to finally figuring out what we are dealing with. We really appreciate it. But let us know down in the comments what you think of this detail, what you think of the bounty puck. Do you think that is indeed Cal? And if it is Cal, who do you think sent the bounty hunters after him? Who is the bounty hunters that were sent after him? And what do you think the context of the scene is? And do you think this will be very important to the overall story of Jedi Survivor? Or do you think this is just one of those kind of side moments along Cal's journey? So let us know all of those down below in the comments. Again, we love talking with all of you and just seeing what you all have to say and all of your theories, because we love bringing our theories and ideas to you, and we love getting them back from you. So just let us know. But guys, that is going to do it for us for this one. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, we will see you all next time.